Well, hello and welcome to Femme Noir. I'm Serena,
I'm Victoria.
and today is Valentine's Day. It's not. It's a couple days before Valentine's Day, but we are releasing this the weekend of Valentine's Day, and so for fun, we did a little poll on our Instagram, and it was really fun for me to see you guys' answers, and I hope you guys had fun. So we're gonna go through this right now because some of them are very relevant to what we're talking about today, which is romantic comedies. So I asked you guys a question. I asked like five questions, I think, and you didn't really have to answer the fifth one, but those that did answer the fifth one are getting a shout out later on. So stay tuned if you want to hear your name and you answered that last question. The first question I asked was, do you like romantic comedies?
I
I
voted
like
no.
them. You don't like them. I like them. But 73% of people that participated do like them. Which honestly, like, it was pretty close for a while. Like, at one point, it was straight 50-50, and that was after we got in, it was close. It was
No
like, I
way.
woke up the next day, it was like, oh, it's not 50-50. So that's
Wow.
interesting.
Rom-com
Um,
haters didn't show up. I hate that. I know
they're
we're out
fun.
there. I know y'all are out there. Don't be afraid to speak your mind.
I guess it depends on, like, what people think of when they like think romantic comedy, because like
That's
most
true.
people, I ask them like, what do you expect when you're watching a rom-com? That was my fourth question, and most people were like, oh, I feel like because you can see on Instagram like who voted in each one. The same people that said like they liked rom-coms basically said like when I watch a rom-com I expect for these like specific things to happen. And most of them were pretty much like, oh, like a happy ending and like a love story, or like to be able to relax and just like watch the movie. Um yeah, another one where I was like, oh, it has a happy ending. Um Having like a lot of tropes in them and sometimes them actually being funny.
Sometimes.
uh, yeah.
True.
Heteronormativity, which is true,
Oof. Yeah.
unfortunately. I think
F in the
I was
chat.
literally just talking with Victoria about the fact that I was like, I liked Happiest Season mainly because it wasn't like just like a regular straight rom com. And I was like, I feel like, what did I say? I said I feel like when it comes to movies, like, um, especially when it comes to like rom coms and stuff, people have like expectations of what it's gonna be, so they just like go into it with like a predisposition of like not liking it. Like some people will go in and be like, "Oh, it's made by a woman, so I'm just gonna immediately have these super high expectations." But then it's like, if it were made by a man, I would have no expectations. So why can't we go into movies like that? So like Happiest Season, like I went into it was like rom com, yes, and then like I was just like hoping like please don't like hate the movie before you see it, like give it a chance,
Yeah,
kind
like
of
when
a
a
thing.
when a
Because
guy's
it
name
was
is on the
cool to see
movie.
a mainstream movie like that was gay, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, when a guy's name is on a movie, it's like a selling point, like Gary Marshall or whatever. Like if it's a Gary
Hmm.
Marshall movie, it's like, oh, like da, da, da. When a girl's name is on a movie, it's like a deterrent. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, it's
or
gonna
it's
be
like,
one.
oh,
It's
it's
gonna
an
be a girl movie.
LGBTQ film, and they're like, oh, it's for
Yeah,
gay people. And
yeah.
really,
As soon
like,
as there's two
why just
girls, they're
watch
like, oh,
it?
it's a chick flick. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was another thing I asked. I was like, do you feel that most rom coms are like targeted towards women specifically? And everybody was like, yeah, rom coms are made for women.
It was 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my
Everyone was like, yes, they're
god.
targeted for women. And I was like, that probably has a lot to do with why people like slash dislike and have such strong opinions about rom coms. Because you see it
Wow.
happen a lot, like teenage girls especially will get like made fun of for liking stuff like with the Beatles. They're like, oh, you guys love the Beatles and you're crazy about the Beatles, but now like if a guy likes the Beatles, he's like super posh and like educated about music, and it's like that's the
Yeah.
stupidest thing ever.
No,
And so
that's
I feel like
true.
it's similar when it comes to rom-coms, where people are like, oh, it's a rom-com, it's like a chick flick, it's a girl thing, or like it's like a, I don't know, like super girly, in quotes, girly like thing to like.
Yeah. Okay, tell me if I
You
brought
heard
this
the
up
bell, that
before.
was my cat.
Yeah, I heard that.
She's enjoying
tell me if I
this.
brought this up before, but there was something like a study I read where they would show like the same sort of like scenes or movies. And if I brought this up, you can just cut it out. But like it was like the same sort of scene, and they had like maybe like 10 people in the scene, and like 8 would be guys and then 2 would be girls, and they would like show people the scene, and then they would show them like the same exact thing, except like now there was 5 girls and then 5 guys. And when people watched the first one, they were like, oh, it seems like there's like equal representation. And then in the second one, where there was 5 and 5, they were like, there was too many girls.
What?
Yeah. Wait, do you want me to find it? I thought I'd mentioned it before, but I bet I could find it.
Bruh.
And it was like
up.
men and women saying that, yeah.
That's
because
crazy.
they're just not used to seeing girls. Like they're so underrepresented.
It's like really weird. So I think like I was watching The Wilds, and it's like pretty much only women in the movie. Like there was only girls, and like at some point I was like you do notice where you're like, wow, they're all girls, and it's cool because they like have completely different conversations than you do if there is like a single man involved. And I kind of enjoyed that, but at the same time, like you do totally notice, you're like, holy crap, that's a lot of girls.
Yeah. I wish. I'm
used to seeing 3 to 5. 3 to 5, that's like the cutoff. You can only have women if it's a single woman, if it's a group of 3, or if it's a group of 5. I don't know why it always has to be an odd number. I guess that's how you make it interesting. They always like to have that discourse of like one person being like, oh, but I don't have the partner of friend in the group.
Oh,
like
really?
The 3rd wheel or the 5th wheel. Yeah, they'll make that like a thing, like, oh, you're better friends with her, which is like stupid.
That's true.
It's stupid to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let me know if you don't think that's stupid, but I don't know why it's always got to be 3 and 5.
I never noticed.
Like Winx, Powerpuff Girls, whatchamacallit, the Totally Spies. Those are all groups of 3, and then you have like the witch ones. There was, oh my goodness, why am I blinking? They made The Craft, not The Craft. They just remade it. I think it is The Craft, actually.
Is it a cartoon?
It might be The Craft.
Craft?
No, it was like it was around the same era of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But it was like a group of 3 girls, and they were like witches, and they did magic.
I have no idea.
Which is like the plot of like 3 other shows that all have some like witch or magic in the title.
Buffy?
Or all made in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're like, that's 3. Winx wasn't 3, Winx was 5.
Well, I don't know about 5, but 3 is typically it's a main character and 2 side characters. And I feel like you can say that for a lot of shows.
So
it's
many.
like New Girl. New Girl is 5. It's the 4 guys and her. You know, it's like that's kind of how they. I don't know if it is gender. I don't know. I've never thought of it. This is the first I'm hearing about you saying this, but I just think of like
it's just like a pattern that I've noticed a lot.
Yeah, like Danny Phantom. It's like Danny the 2 friends. It's like Ned's Declassified.
And
it's
then,
like Ned 2 friends. It's like that's kind of like I don't know, but I don't know if that's a thing.
Like
I've never
iCarly.
thought about it until you just said this.
iCarly, there was 3.
Yeah,
and then there's another one that's like there's 5 girls. It's gonna drive me crazy, so I'm not gonna be able to remember it. I'm so sorry. Now that I brought it up,
like I'm just thinking, like kids shows, like Hannah Montana.
Winx is 5.
3.
Yeah, there are 3 in Hannah Montana. It's weird.
Yeah, it's
like
just
I don't know
easy.
why it's always an odd number.
I don't know.
But then like there's a movie called like The Duff, I think, where it's like one girl, or it's 3 girls, and then one girl is like the main character, and she's like not the quote unquote like pretty one, and she has 2 like quote unquote like popular pretty friends, and so she's like, oh well, I don't fit in with my friends, so I need to be like cooler because they're not going to stay my friends if I'm not as cool as they are. They do this often, like what, Mean Girls, that's 3. Like they do it all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
We're just like 3 girls, and then in order to make it some type of like, oh, we don't like each other, there always has to be like the one odd one out.
Yeah, that's true.
I forget what we were talking about, but yeah. Let's see. So I said, yeah, so 100% of rom-coms they felt were targeted towards women, which is interesting because the follow-up question to that was, how many rom-coms off the top of your head can you think of that are written or directed by women? And the most anyone said was like possibly three, and they were like, it was an unsure three. And I was like, me and myself could think of five, and three of them were the same director. And I was like, yeah, there's not that many, which is
That's
interesting since they're all targeted towards women. It's very maybe odd to think of the fact that they're targeting all of these women with patriarchal values that are all just narratives dictated by men.
Well, here's the
R.I.P.
thing. That's like not even like there are women writers and directors, but that you'll never know.
You'll never know.
They don't tell you. They're like, people aren't gonna come see it, so they don't fucking say shit. And that's just crazy.
Yeah, and they have like way harder of a time getting the studio to actually make a rom-com that's written by a woman.
Mm.
Like I think like Dirty Dancing almost didn't get produced. And that's written by and directed by women, or not directed. It's written and produced by women. But like they had this issue because one part of the plot is like abortion. And I think Amy Heckerling had the same issue with like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and she's the one that did Clueless, and it's like that's stupid. And so like they had like a huge, they had such a hard time getting those like in, and you see it kind of like a lot, like because Dirty Dancing is like a huge movie now, but in the 80s people were like, they almost hated it because of the abortion thing. And like she literally, in order to get that one made, they had to they got it picked up by this like failing like porno like music video, like basically like experimental type film thing that was like, we're going out of business, sure, we'll make your movie, but we can't lose anything.
Wow.
And isn't that crazy? But yeah, I think it's interesting that like they don't get made very often with women, because even now, like a lot of the ones that you see that are coming out, like there's not, like even on Netflix, most of them are, even if it's like a female character, they're still written by men. So many of them, it's weird.
I honestly can't think. I assume like especially older ones like 80s, 90s, early 2000s are men, just because of the advertising. Like I'm really like a consumer in that way, because it's like I know Gary Marshall and like all those guys that did or who did like Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve. Is it the same guy? No. It's
the same like producers.
Yeah, it's like the same people, and I just know that they like, who's the guy? I'm gonna find out. Oh yeah, it's Gary Marshall.
It's Gary Marshall.
So, dude, he has just a chokehold on the rom-com business.
Yeah, which is so weird.
Yeah,
and it's like it's interesting.
Everyone else gets erased.
Yeah, everyone else gets erased, but then it's also like what you just said. You said like you're a consumer in that way, and like it's kind of like we're just, because of the way it's advertised, you're just kind of predispositioned to not really want to see them because of how they're advertised. And so the fact that they're like marketed, if you're like, oh, it's marketed towards women, and then you automatically don't like how it's marketed towards you, you're gonna go in with predisposition of being like, oh, I don't like it. And we're literally trained to do that. So like every time I see a rom-com, I always have to take a like my immediate reaction to any rom-com, like trailer or ad or something, is like, ugh. And then I'm like, okay, stop. Like I need to stop and give it a chance.
Them. For me, it makes sense. For you, that's crazy because you actually like rom-coms. I wonder why you do that.
Well, I only like the good ones.
But you voted yes.
But I do. I watch them. Yeah. Like I will watch them because I'm interested in finding like the good ones, because the good ones, like, they're good. And I think like I like the movie that we picked out today because it's one of those ones where like the way that it was advertised was as a rom-com. It's still tailored to the rom-com audience. Most people, when you say rom-com, if they're like our parents' age, they will immediately think of this director. And so it's interesting because I think I even talked about, I was like, the movie's more, and most of the movies this director's done they're all very much societal critiques, and the rom-com element is just kind of like it's almost like a B plot to what like the actual relationship between the characters is.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about it.
Right? I'm so
excited. I have
thoughts. And so when I asked, like, what do you expect? Like, most people are like, yeah, I expect like a lot of tropes. And some people like the tropes. Like, obviously, the last question I asked was, what are your favorite tropes for like a shout out? Which, like, some of them are pretty fun. There was my mom, Susan Johnson.
Call her out.
She said, her username is so hard to say. So
that's okay.
JHNSN, sir.
You guys both
she said, like, friends that become romantically involved. We do. I think our entire family has like usernames that are ridiculous. Like mine's Nina CJ, but it's because like my nickname in my family is Nina. Because when children are small and they try to say Serena, they can't say the sir part, and it just comes out as Nina. So I just always put that down, and no, like I don't go by it. No one else knows. They're always like, "What's your username?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's Nina CJ," like because that was my family name.
So random.
Yeah, it's very random, but it works really well because it's short. We had Skylar _McGill. Hello, Skylar. He said it's not really a trope. Oh wait, no. Actually, I'm gonna say this one because it's a spoiler. We had Honora.Borealis. You said when it's big gay or when it has Anne Hathaway, which is my favorite response, to be honest. Because
she knows her mind.
Yes. If it is gay or has Anne Hathaway, I am down. Like, I'm so
Brokeback Mountain,
down.
dude. Oh my god, gay and Anne Hathaway is there. Oh my god, that's why it's 5 stars.
Bro, for real. Maddie _Winter said she's all here for the "there's only one bed" or "we have to hide in a small closet," which
that is a good one. The have to hide one. Oh my god, that's so good. Wait, what rom-com is that in? I'll watch that rom-com if that's in something. I've read that trope. I've never seen it in a movie.
Really? They do it in the second Princess Diaries, off the top of my head. They do it in that one. Yeah.
I have to rewatch those. It's been a minute.
They did it.
Rewatch them for that.
The second one?
Yeah.
I awkwardly remember so much of the second Princess Diaries. It was like a very specific movie to just be like, yeah, this one.
They always played it on Disney Channel.
It was always on. I watched it so many times as a kid. I'm trying to think. There's probably another one. I think they had to do it in The Proposal. It might not have been like a closet, but it was like a small space or something. But they definitely did the sharing a bed one.
Yeah.
Which is always very funny.
Yeah.
Jen.Nguyen97 said fake dating. Just
Jen,
another good one.
That's
I love
true.
These. Yeah, that one's a pretty good one. Like,
that's so good.
I thought it was funny because Happiest Season did the exact opposite, where they're like, "Oh, we have to pretend we're not dating." I was like, I've never seen that trope before.
I know, it was an anti-rom-com
trope. It's a nice spin. I wonder if they did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Fake dating. Yeah, they do that, and they're like, tell all the boys I've loved before, which, not that great, but they did that there. They did that on Bridgerton, which people are watching on Netflix right now. Yeah.
Again, I've read it, but I've never seen it. Like, where there's situations, they're like, oh, I don't want this person to ask me out, and they'll be like, just say that I'm your boyfriend,
pretend
or whatever,
dating.
And it's like, what?
I know, I do that as like a way to get away from like weird men in clubs, like pretend pretend we're a thing. Zach Morris 1994 said sassy sister suspicious of dude's motives.
What? What is that one? I
I've seen
that.
I've seen it, like, I haven't seen these rom-coms in like a really long time, but I want to say there's one with like Ryan Reynolds in it or something, like older. But like it's a thing, and it's always like there is always a one person that's like suspicious, and they're like, I don't think you're good for her. Like, you shouldn't be around. Like, something like that. And they're not actually dating, but it's like one of those moments where the dude gets confronted by the sister that's like, you shouldn't be in love with her. You're not good for her. And he's like, I didn't think I was in love with her, but now you're saying that, like, am I?
I've
That
never
happens?
seen this
No.
before in my life. Never even
That
heard of
happens
this.
so much.
Wow.
Someone knows what I'm talking about. Let me know in the comments on YouTube if you're watching this if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I would like to know what movie so I can be educated.
I know, I can't think of like the specific movie, but it's like a thing. Multiple people said enemies to lovers. Minnie_Winnie and my brother _Manny Johnson _ they both said that. Emma Levy said, I'm a sucker for the best friend childhood friend trope turned lover trope. Childhood Lord. Let me start over. I'm a sucker for the best friend / childhood friend turned lover trope. I did it. That
Wait,
was
do you want to do it one more time because I laughed? Or no, it's okay.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. I did it once. I don't know if I can do it again. I don't know why I can't read. I'm illiterate.
That was the one.
That's how you know I'm queer. I'm just kidding.
Girl. And when we both
Let me
can't
know if
read.
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I like that trope. That one's fun. And then my sister BBLY Bubbly Ari, BBLYARI Bubbly Ari said the main character realizing that the right person was in front of them the whole time. That's definitely that one Ryan Reynolds one that I'm thinking about. Just Friends.
Oh, it's called Just Friends?
Mm-hmm.
I think I've heard of that one. I have never seen it, but I've heard of it.
There's a Justin Timberlake Mila Kunis one where Friends with Benefits where they just have sex. I think that might be one where someone's like suspicious and they're like, oh, like you're together, and they're like, we're not together, we just have sex. Like kind of a thing. And so back to the one that I skipped earlier, Skylar _McGill. He said, not really a trope, but the fact that Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan met both online and by radio, which I found absolutely hysterical because the movie we're talking about today is You've Got Mail, which is the one where Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan meet online. Yeah. So a fun game that we wanted to play now that we both watched it was how many of these tropes are actually in this movie?
Enemies to lovers.
Definitely enemies to lovers.
Yes.
It might be the main character realizing the right person was in front of them the whole time. Possibly, because like
maybe
they meet,
like the last half,
but she doesn't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd say probably stalking, but in a cute way. That's totally low key. Yeah. That's the only thing I don't like about this movie is the fact that he's like, I'm not gonna tell her, and then he's like, I'm not gonna tell her that I'm the guy, but I'm still gonna chat with her because I want to be her friend first.
Yeah, that shoot
which
was
like
really
it's kind of creepy.
It's like, what the hell?
I was like, maybe in the 90s it seemed like romantic, but we're past that now. So like stalking, but in a cute way.
I know, right?
Let me see. They don't do fake dating. It's unfortunately not gay and doesn't have Anne Hathaway. And I guess technically they're friends that become romantically involved because they do become friends first before they become romantically involved. Yeah. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun doing that with you guys. I might do more of these later, like in the comments if you're on YouTube or like DM us on Instagram and just like tell us what kind of like should we do polls and stuff because I have a lot of fun. I think we should do like polls like
I will vote in them. If no one else votes in them, I'll vote in them.
You'll vote.
It'll be like, oh my god, it was 100% for all of these. Yeah.
Wow, crazy. It'll be 50-50. Yes, I like rom-coms. No, I don't. That's it.
Wow, thanks to everyone who participated.
Yeah, thank you guys so much because that was really fun. I hope you guys had fun, but definitely let us know if we should do more of these because I really enjoyed like seeing all the answers and stuff. It made me feel like you guys actually like this?
Watch? They actually watch this shit?
You guys actually listening? No way. I'm shook. You guys actually like participate with us? That's crazy.
Oh my god. They like us. Oh
my god. Stop.
Embarrassing. I know the actual tension is between like us and like the people watching. It's like,
I know, it's crazy. Wow.
I know. I feel something.
Dang.
Okay, transition into movie talk.
So now we'll actually
we are talking about. Oh, what happened?
We're actually going to talk about the movie now.
Yes, we are. Yeah, get down to business. Okay, the movie we're talking about is You've Got Mail, written and directed by Nora Ephron and co-written by Nora's sister Delia Ephron with Nora Ephron. Synopsis: struggling boutique bookseller Kathleen Kelly, played by Meg Ryan, hates Joe Fox, played by Tom Hanks, the owner of a corporate bookstore, Fox Books chain that just moved in across the street. When they meet online, however, they begin an intense and anonymous internet romance, oblivious of each other's true identity. 1998.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I like most about this movie, because I have seen this movie multiple times, and I really do like it. And like I said earlier, the one thing I don't like about the movie is that there's the stalking kind of bit there, like, because that didn't age well. But I think the thing I like most about this movie is that it still feels relevant, and it doesn't feel like a stereotypical rom-com. Like, they don't do romance stuff until I actually checked. She says the words at the restaurant when they're breaking up, her and her like boyfriend for the first part of the movie. She says the word, or he says like, "So is there anyone for you?" Because he's breaking up with her because he's like, "I think I like this other woman. It's like, I adore you, but I'm not in love with you anymore." And she's like, "I'm not in love with you either. That's great." And so he's like, "Is there someone else then?" And she says, "No, but there's the dream of someone else." And at that point, there's about 35 and a couple minutes left in the film. And that's really when like the romance part like starts, which is like crazy because the movie's
2 hours
minute less than
long.
2 hours.
So long. Yeah, so I never watched it growing up, but my parents had like all those movies on DVD, and I knew of it. I knew Tom Hanks was in it. And I forgot, but I actually did watch Sleepless in Seattle years ago because I thought it was gonna be good. And it's funny because I was talking with my friend Jen about it. Like, the only reason I even know about that movie is because they talked about it in How I Met Your Mother. There's like a scene where Ted is like reenacting the scene on a little diorama of a skyscraper. And
is it Sleepless in Seattle, or is it An Affair to Remember?
It was Sleepless in Seattle.
Okay. Because Sleepless in Seattle is like based off of An Affair to Remember, which is another like older movie with Catherine. No, I think it's Catherine Hepburn. Yeah, it's Catherine Hepburn.
Oh, that's heck old.
And it's the same plot, like, because they reference it in Sleepless in Seattle. An Affair to Remember, they're like, "Why do women like this movie?" And it's like the idea of like what could be, and like I should do that. So I always wonder, like, when I see people reenacting that, I'm like, is it from the original or is it from Sleepless in Seattle? Because both of them were like huge.
Is there a scene on a skyscraper in Affair to Remember?
Yeah, like that's the whole plot. Is like these two people meet on like a boat, and it's Catherine Hepburn and some guy that's probably famous that I don't care about because he's a man.
Damn.
I don't care. They all look the same, like in those old movies. It's like they cast the same dude.
The girls too, honestly.
But it's like Catherine Hepburn. They meet on this like boat, and they have this like affair, and both of them are seeing other people, and then they like something happens, and she's like in a tragic accident. And basically, sorry if it's like spoilers. It's old though.
It's 100 years old. It's fine.
It's it's so old that if you reference it in a movie now, technically it's like free domain. They would make a movie off of it because there's like a certain age of a movie has to be in order for that to like be a thing, and it's that old. Fun fact. But yeah, so they go on like a ship, they have an affair, and they basically fall in love with each other, and they're like, okay, we have to go back to like our regular lives. And I guess they like make this deal like on the ship where they're like, okay, but in 10 years time, if either of us are like no longer with whoever we're with now. Like, let's meet on this day in the Empire State Building, and yada yada yada. But then it's like a tragic ending because one of them has an accident, so they don't show up at the right time.
Oh,
like,
shit.
no.
Okay, so that's how you can tell the difference, is because when he was reenacting it, there was two people.
There was two people.
That's the difference. So it was Sleepless in Seattle. And that's the only reason that I watched that movie. It left no impression on my brain. To where I, like, forgot that I had ever watched it. I was like, I don't even know if anything even happens in that movie. Like,
is that one
what even happens?
She actually made that one before she made this one, You've Got Mail. And
I like this one so much more.
I like this one so much more too. I think this one, I have seen all of her movies, so this one is probably my favorite of all of her movies. It just feels so nuanced, and like the script is really great, and like the dialogue and everything. Like, I love the dialogue so much. Like, my goal in life is to sound like I was written to be a character in this movie. I want to have that so sharp, witty, lofty cadence. Like, oh my goodness, if I could sound like that. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, my only thing was that it just felt really long. But I liked it was like really cool to watch because it was really sweet how they were like becoming friends, and they were like unlikely friends, but like they were so similar and that kind of stuff. And I like stories about how like two people can be at odds, but then at the core be exactly the same. I love that. I think it's so great, and like it was a sweet story about like overcoming loneliness and just like that kind of stuff. And so I thought it was really
it feels
cute.
very relevant. Like, it feels
totally.
so relevant to like today's, because like right now, like people, like we have online dating now, and so like this movie literally, like, I actually was reading an article. Most of the actors, like even like Meg Ryan actually said, she was like, I didn't own a movie before, or I didn't own a computer before I was in this movie. So she had to learn how to use a computer for this movie.
No,
because it came out in 1998.
No way.
And they were like, yeah, we weren't really versed in like the culture of like internet, so we had to like figure out how to use the internet. And like she was like, I'm pretty sure the company that gave us the movies gave us the computer for this movie, like that's how I got my first computer.
No, it was Apple.
Like, that's crazy.
That's funny. I know, it's
insane?
funny in old movies you can tell whether or not they actually know what they're talking about. Like in this one, I mean, I don't even, the dial-up was pretty hilarious, but like in terms of like chat rooms, I don't even know if that's real or not, but like there's some where you can tell like that didn't even exist. Like the format and stuff, it's like they're just making shit up. It's so funny.
I'm pretty sure it did exist. I feel like
DMing and stuff, like IMing and stuff for sure. But then,
like the instant messaging, like I want to say there were like it wasn't like a chat room, it was like a server or something that you would like have to join. Kind of like Club Penguin, how they had like servers.
Oh my god.
You had to do that, but like I don't know how it worked in the
I would totally watch a version of this movie where instead of emailing, it was Club Penguin. They were like, you would log on to Club Penguin. And you're like, should we meet?
Let's find someone to code a version of Club Penguin that didn't crash, because I know they did that and then it got like erased. Let's try to get that redone just so we can remake this movie on Club Penguin.
Wait.
I think we're on to something here. Because online dating feels nothing like this movie.
I know, and Club Penguin dating, I felt something. So that was like
that was real. Look, if we're doing that Puggles, like, hey, let's go walk our Puggles together.
Let's meet up at the pizza shop and then both sit in the pizza chairs.
Let's dress our
if
you paid money, you could like house. Accessorize them.
Come over to my igloo. Bring your puffle.
Oh my god, so cute.
That's so dumb.
That little dance
okay, so anyway, about this movie. Okay, because honestly, you said earlier like it was really creepy about how he like lied and stuff, and I would agree. I think that was super creepy. I think it would have been possible for it to like not have been creepy. But I just think that Tom Hanks is, like, weird. I don't know.
Oh, I love Tom Hanks.
I'm not a fan. I think he's, like...
He's so sweet.
He's, like, really, like, not scary, but, like, kind of scary, actually. Yeah, like, I'm kind of afraid. Like, I don't see him as being, like, soft boyfriendy. You know? I don't know why. I can't.
I always picture him as, like, a grandpa. That's fair, because Billy Crystal is in, when Harry met Sally, and I don't like Billy Crystal. Like, he looks greasy to me.
Yeah, it's like just
so
a vibe.
yeah, I understand what that is. It's like, I hate
Right?
Matthew
I don't
McConaughey,
know.
but other people are like in love with him. And just like, I don't like his face. I don't know what it is. But I
Yeah,
do like Matthew McConaughey. No,
I
that's
know. I feel like
understandable.
Tom Hanks would be like in like Die Hard. I feel like he's more like that. So it's
Like
weird
in
to
an
see him in
action
like a
film.
rom. What happened?
Like in a rom-com, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but because I feel like if they had gotten like a really like I don't know, just someone else, then I would have been like, oh, like he's just shy, like he doesn't really know what to say. Da da da. I would have gotten more of that vibe, which I think they were trying to get at.
Yeah,
that.
I
Like,
think it was
oh,
more
he
like
doesn't
the
know
crap.
how to-
She's gonna hate me.
Yeah, but you
she's
don't.
gonna
I
hate
didn't
me,
get
and I'm
the
gonna make her feel
insecurity.
so bad for having like it was more out of the fact that he was like, I don't want to embarrass her by
Yeah.
like it being me. Like, I would
Yeah.
rather, yeah, which is like again her decision to make, but he made it. So
Yeah, because I
whatever.
think he was supposed to be like insecure. That was what I was
Yeah.
getting. Like if I just heard the dialogue, I think he was like scared.
Yeah, because the dialogue's really good, and it
yeah,
kind of
I
like
think so,
saves
too.
the situation.
They what?
It saves the situation, the dialogue,
Yeah,
from
totally.
it being like really like
Yeah. But then yeah, just him, I was like, oh, I didn't get like that mushiness. I don't know. So I don't know. So I didn't have that big of a problem because I still think that it works a little bit, or it could have worked. Just
Yeah,
the
like
fact
if
that
it was Jude
so
Law,
fucking long.
if it was Jude Law, I would have been
Jude
like,
Law. What does he look like?
I don't know what it is about Jude Law, but I love Jude Law. So sorry if y'all don't agree with me. He's that British
you love
guy
him?
in The Holiday. He was in Captain Marvel too. He was the guy.
The guy?
The guy that was like, you can't use your powers in Captain Marvel. But I like Jude Law.
Oh, no, you're right. I looked at Jude Law cute, and I think
He's
he would
so
have been
cute.
good. Like that?
Like, aesthetically, I love his aesthetic. Like, he's just very, like, precious. He doesn't look like he would harm anyone.
Yeah, totally.
But he's also not, like, but he looks like he can hold his own.
Yeah. Look at those sweet boy pics. I agree. I would recast Tom Hanks as Jude Law, and then it would
Like,
be
I see
perfect.
Jude Law and I want to give him a hug.
Yeah.
I just want to hug Jude Law.
You're so right for that. Yeah. Yeah, I liked it a lot more than I thought. And I wouldn't even say this one's really like a rom-com, honestly. Like, I would just say it's like, maybe like a feel-good movie.
Yeah, because it's definitely got, like, so many societal critiques in it that it, like, talks about and that it delves into.
Yeah.
That is, the movie's way more centered around that than it really is the, like, love story.
Totally.
Like, the love story really is, like, a B-plot to the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of, like, I really like how it's weaved in because, and this is probably going to sound really nerdy, but every time I watch this movie before watching it for this podcast, I've always watched it through how I enjoy how it talks about capitalism and consumerism.
That's valid.
And,
It
like,
went there.
Yeah, and then, like, there's a line that she says in the movie when Tom Hanks is like, hey, I want to be your friend. He's like, I just wanted you to know that it wasn't personal. And she's like, what does that even mean? If anything, like, we should begin things with being personal. And that's just, I guess in 2020, that was something that I felt like a lot. So I watched this movie a lot in 2020, like, sue me. But that was, like, a theme that I kind of just felt was, like, there was so much of, like, this against this. And, like, they even have it in the movie where they're, like, picketing. And they're like, no, down to the giant bookstore. And then, like, she ends up going out of business. But at the same time, they're like, okay, but neither one is, like, a bad person. It's just kind of like is there a way for us to still be human beings even though we live in this world where you have to somehow thrive in capitalism, otherwise you're not going to make it because that's the society we live in. Like, even though we 100% want to be able to have the freedom to not have to live in this consumer society, it's the one we live in, so somehow we have to be able to navigate it without losing our soul. That's what I think of every time I see this movie, and I'm so sorry, I just went on a little rant there.
That was beautiful.
That's what I love about this movie.
I could not have said it better. That was like poetry just now.
Thank you.
Ooh.
Thank you.
No, you're so right. And it was a call out for me because I love The Godfather, and she was like, fuck The Godfather. And I was like, oh my God. Like, she's right.
I hated The Godfather.
I was like, that's like one of my favorite movies ever. Oh.
I think I hated The Godfather mostly because it was so hyped up, and then I watched it and it was like, this movie didn't need to be this long. I was
to
like,
me,
why in the heck did I have to watch this for so long? And there's like 3 parts, and I was like, are you kidding me?
I loved it. I was like, this is perfect. Like, it worked. It was super interesting. Yeah, because to me, I was like, I like stuff that people hype up like that, like Godfather, whatever, Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, all those. I was like, I don't know.
But they're always hyped up by men, so I always go into them a little suspicious. I'm like, is it actually good, or are you just saying it's good because it's violent or something? Like, because that was the other thing, was people were like, oh, the violence in The Godfather, and I was like, I was expecting more, to be honest, but how people were talking about it, like, I was expecting way more. And then I was like, oh, that's it?
No, literally fucking same. Literally, I'm so, like, hesitant. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like it, Godfather? Oh my God, it's so good. It's like so elegant, and I feel like, well, it's not necessarily like plot wise. I know it came from a book, but I think that they're like, for a Hollywood movie, it was so like, and for plot that was really, it was like a very violent, like with themes and stuff. I'm gonna start talking about The Godfather because I'm like, but I'm like, they did it so elegantly. It was like so eloquent. It was beautiful. It's such really a beautiful movie.
It is, and
it doesn't like, and it like highlights evils, but in a way that
it's not like glorifying them.
Yes, it's not like Scorsese, where he's like, we love blood on screen and shit, like we love murder,
and like
it like acknowledges evils and like evil, and you know, universal like human connection, and you know, like with family, and then like the way that it manifests, like when you like create enemies, and like it's so good. I just loved it. But then when she said that, I was like, oh my God. And especially because that quote where he was like, it's not personal, it's just business, that he said was from The Godfather.
Yeah.
And then she was like, it is personal. She's like, it's personal to me.
It's personal to me. Like, all that means is that it's not personal to you. And I was like, that's
like,
yes, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's
so that was
the
like call
point.
out at me. I was like, damn. Yeah, that was a really good. That last little scene was like so good. I like that. You could like take
like, there's so many
of the movie and like just have them by themselves, like as quotes.
Yeah, there's so really many nice good quotes. Like the one where my favorite quote of the movie actually was when he's on the treadmill and he's talking to Dave Chappelle, which I don't know why Dave Chappelle's in this movie.
I know.
Like, cool, he's in this movie.
I know, that was random.
He's talking to Dave Chappelle's character, which I don't even know what his name is because he's in the movie so little.
Oh yeah, let's see.
But he's on the treadmill and he is like, oh, look, this is the scene where they interviewed me, and they cut it short. And he's like, what? That's it? I had so many things that I said. And then he's like, okay, well, like, what was it? He goes like, I was eloquent. Shit. And I'm like, just the contrast of I was eloquent and then just a cuss word is so genius to me. The fact that she put that in one sentence and like that line is amazing. And it makes me laugh every time. There's so many good quotes. So many good quotes in this one.
Yeah.
I also like the one where he's talking about Starbucks and he's like, how for just $4.98 you can have a sense of purpose. And I was like, yes.
Yeah, he was like, for people that like are anonymous and like have no like solid things in their life. Yeah, for whatever.
And then he said like sense of self.
You get to have an identity or whatever. Yeah, and I was like, period, Tom Hanks.
Fired. It's
that
so
was like
good.
So good. I want to get that like printed on something because that was like, I've never heard that. And this movie's been out for how long? And I've never even heard that quote.
Like the way that they deliver the lines, it's so well. Oh my goodness, they do it so well.
Yeah.
Like, I could listen to this movie. Just like like I'm serious. When I say I want to talk like that, like I want to talk like that. I want my sentences to come out like that. That is my goal in life.
It was funny when she got stood up and they were like, why, like, you know, why
they're like scheming. They're like, why is he doing that?
Yeah,
and the serial killer.
Yeah, they were like, oh my God, he's on his deathbed. Yeah, and then that guy's like, he's the murderer. They just arrested a murderer. Like, that was him.
Like Meg Ryan and Heather Burns look at each other and they're like, oh no.
I know. That was
so
like so
cute.
funny to me. I love that scene.
They all did so good in that movie.
Yeah.
Like it's
there was chemistry
so
with like the
good.
whole ensemble.
Everything about it just so well put together. It's so nuanced. They pay attention to like so many small details, like the handkerchief, like it is actually embroidered with daisies, and then later when he visits the house, he's like, oh, I brought you flowers, and she's like, oh, daisies, and he's like, yeah, you told me, and it's like, dang, like you could totally forget that.
Oh,
and I was like, oh my goodness, those details are like, the thing with the nanny is a pretty funny joke to me, and when he's like talking to his dad and they're sitting in the boat, and the dad's going through, he's like, yeah, so the first wife we didn't end up with because I went off with the what's her face, and then he's like, so and so, she was my nanny. And then he's like, oh, and then who was the lady after that? He's like, so and so, she was also my nanny. And he's like, oh man, that's ironic. And then he's like, why? He's like, because the reason this marriage didn't work out is because my wife went off with the nanny.
That was funny.
Like, that's great. What a great joke. And they're like, that is actually pretty. Like, they're like, dang, that sucks, but also hysterical.
I know, they were like laughing. I was like, that's so cool. Yeah, it was like not what I was expecting. The comedy's
really good in it. Yeah. Because it's got so much depth to it. And so I guess like when I think of rom-coms, I automatically like, this is my standard for rom-coms. So even if it's like marketed weird, I'm still like, I will watch every rom-com so I can find this movie. Like, I will determine. Yeah. Like, there's, like, this movie is probably one of my favorite movies. Like, if I have a list that I'm building of my favorite movies, and this one's definitely up there. I love this movie. Like, yeah, I was super excited that you were like okay to watch it, because we were deciding what movie we wanted to watch, and Victoria was like, oh, what about Sleepless in Seattle? I haven't seen it in a while. And I was like, can we talk about You've Got Mail? And then I wasn't sure if you were gonna like it or not, because then you were like, oh, I hate rom-coms, and I was like, but this one's so good, I hope you like it.
No, it's
like one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, I'm like glad that I watched it. I was so pleasantly surprised.
I'm so glad.
And then it's just like a feel-good movie, I think.
Yeah, like you don't feel bad at the end of this movie. You feel good. Yeah. Like it's the way that he says like, oh, I'm in love with you, is also like, that's the only proposal I'll accept. Because like, yeah, we can like go on a walk and decide what kind of movie we're gonna watch for us as long as we both shall live. And I was like, that was so good.
Yeah, that so was good. Like, oh,
like dang, they don't write lines like that anymore. They should. Let's bring that back. Let's bring back actually like really good lines, because like
cheesy shit like, you would never say in real life.
Yeah, let's all just live life like we actually care about each other, and I think the world would be a much better place.
A call out. Yeah, you're right. Except we would be crying a lot more, because they always have breakdowns in rom-coms, so we would.
I mean, I have breakdowns anyway.
That's true. Yeah, you might as well get someone to confess to you if you're gonna have a breakdown.
Yeah, anyway. You may as well get something out of it, like a cool romantic confession.
Are we gonna do FMF next, or should we do Bechdel test next?
Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about the movie? Like anything else that really stood out to you? Can I talk about the outfits?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, go for it.
There isn't anything specific. I just love the outfits. Serena's fashion bit, because I haven't done that in a while. I'm just kidding. I have. I've done it every single time. Let me think of a different one. Serena's fashion bit. A skittle that because this movie has jazz in it, and I love it.
Oh man, that was
great. I love the fashion in this. Maybe not like Tom Hanks' character, but okay, Dave Chappelle's character. Those outfits need to come back. Like, every man should be dressing like that with a long line coat. I am a sucker for long line coats. Let's just be honest here. I love that. I love that the movie starts in the fall, because fall fashion is the best fashion. Like, that's period. But also, like, Meg Ryan is just the cutest little person on the planet. And I love how, I think specifically when it comes to Meg Ryan and Nora Ephron movies, I really like how they don't always put her in outfits that are like super, like, I don't want to say like super feminine. Like, have you noticed that? Like, she's not always in outfits that are super feminine. And I think the 90s was kind of when they started, like, allowing women to kind of dress more like wearing baggier clothes and, like, wearing men's pants. Like, wearing men's pants, I feel like was, like, a 90s thing, which we do now because the, like, women wearing men's pants because they're like, oh, it's just, like, a pair of Levi's. Like, I'm gonna wear it. And so there's, like, the outfit that she's wearing when Tom Hanks, like, confesses to her. Tom Hanks' character confesses to her. She's got like her short haircut and she's wearing like the cardigan thing, and then she has these like super high waisted like paper bag pants, and I was like, I would wear that outfit today. I was like, that's something you would totally see me wearing, and I just thought it was amazing.
That also left an impression on my brain. I remember exactly what you're talking about because throughout the whole movie, that outfit, I was like, yo.
Yeah, I was like,
that's a fit.
It's a fit. But I like that they do that with her always, because they're like, I remember there's an article I was reading because I read a lot about Nora Ephron. Sorry, I've watched a lot of documentaries for some reason, not on purpose. They're just on, and I just sit down and finish them. I don't know how that happens, but they were talking about how like they really, Nora Ephron really liked working with Meg Ryan because she had this like air of like quirkiness where she was like cute and quirky and funky, but she wasn't like weird. Like, I guess it's like it wasn't like she was trying to be that way.
Yeah.
So like the way that she just like comes off and she's like, oh yeah, like I really like, she's like, no one carries around a handkerchief. But when Meg Ryan pulls out a handkerchief, she's like, here you go, sweetie. You like totally don't even think about it. Like you never think about it at all. And you're like, that's just a Meg Ryan thing. Like any other actress, if they tried to do that, it would be a little odd. You'd be like, oh, it's part of their character. Like, you would break out of the scene just a little bit and be like, that's a handkerchief. But the fact that Meg Ryan did it in the movie and she like gives her the handkerchief, you never think about that ever again. You're just like, oh yeah, she has a handkerchief. That's normal.
Were those like not common back then? I actually don't know.
Not in the 90s.
No?
I mean, they had like pocket things that men would wear like in their suits, but that was like more for decoration. Nobody actually used handkerchiefs. Like, handkerchiefs were like Regency era. Like, oh, let me, like Pride and Prejudice, like, let me wave my handkerchief at you, sir. No, let me throw my handkerchief at you. Right? And if like you catch it.
Yeah, people use them.
Yeah, they like catch the handkerchief to be like, oh, it's my token from my lady.
That was like the 1800s. They used them way after that. Like, what? You've been watching TV
I can't think of any other time.
What happened?
I can't think of any other time they used handkerchiefs.
They had to have like in.
Did they use them in the 70s?
Like, in the 60s.
In the 60s? What did they use them for in the 60s?
As a handkerchief.
Like, legitimately?
Yes.
I thought they just wrapped things in them.
But they had them. That's the thing. That's true. People had them.
They had them, but like they were
used them, like, for whatever you.
They like used them for like wrapping random things in. They were like ball things up. They put like trinkets in them and then they give it to like a child. There's a movie where like I want to say it's like My Girl or something, where like the kid has like a handkerchief.
Oh.
Or like I always think of like Boo Radley and like they like wrap a bird up like.
Yeah, like they had some back then. Yeah.
But they don't use it in like a nice, like romantic way. Or like a cute way. Where they're like, yes, I carry around this handkerchief because it reminds me of like cute things. They just
I mean they might.
Maybe. I don't know.
Weigh on this.
Let me know. Let us know in the comments. There's a lot of things to let us know in the comments. DM us.
We don't know anything.
Legitimately want to know what you think about this. I think it's interesting. But yeah, like, I don't know, there's just something about like Meg Ryan, the way she carries herself, that like she wears these like quirky outfits and I absolutely adore every single one of them. But that one specifically on the doorstep when she like goes in, I was like, it's so cute, I want to wear it. But like I do appreciate that they don't try to like take that away from her. Like they let her do that because like it's the 90s. Like this was the era of like weird rap music videos where everyone was in like a bikini like bra and like those, what were those like they used to wear those like weird thong things and like the low-rise pants which I hated. Ugh,
oh yeah,
those
like,
are just thongs. Yeah. That's just like not good for my body. But they would like have it hiked over their like hips so that you could see it. And like I've seen it coming back, but the way people are wearing it now, it looks so much better than it did in the 90s. I don't know what it is. I feel like it looks better now than it did then. I personally, you will not find me doing that, but that's just because, again, it's just not like a my body thing. It would bother me. I'd be like, no, I mean, like literally, I would feel it like on my hip bone because I already have a really high waist. Like I would feel it, and I'll just be like, "This is so annoying." Like I just want to like take some scissors and like get it off me.
Wow, sexy.
I aced that one.
Yeah, I
Didn't
know.
even think about that.
Man, accidentally is sexy.
Whoops.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess that's it for my fashion bit. It's a very short-lived fashion bit, but that's it. A skeedly-dee-da.
I like this intro and outro.
Should I keep it?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, I guess we can go ahead and do after that. Who are the men? We've got Dave Chappelle's character. We've got Tom Hanks, and then we've got Meg Ryan's like boyfriend, I guess, in the beginning of the movie.
Okay, so we'll do Frank, and then Joe Fox.
Joe Fox.
And then Dave Chappelle's character is Kevin Jackson.
Kevin. All right. I got this one. I'll go first.
Okay.
Marry Joe Fox. Screw Kevin because that coat's great. And friendzone Frank.
Wow,
he seems like a person I'd be friends with. I know, it's the fastest
That's like the quickest you've ever done it. Yeah. I was thinking I was gonna have more time to think. Probably fuck also Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think just because I don't know anything about him and I'm like, that would be safe. And then, yeah, I think same. I think I would marry Joe Fox and then I would just friend zone the other guy.
Yeah, I feel like if like Frank was a real person, I would find him fun as a friend. Yeah. Because like, who's in love with typewriters? But I 100% probably would never marry a man that's in love with a typewriter. You know?
Definitely. That is a red flag. He comes in with two typewriters. It's like,
he like,
hell no.
Talks so much.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I get it. Capitalism sucks, but also like, you don't have to keep telling me. I know.
Yeah. Like the businesswoman wife. Like, that's crazy.
Just let me run my independent bookstore.
I can't believe we agreed. Oh my god.
Dang.
For like the first
finally.
Time. That's crazy. Wow. Good for us.
That was so fast too.
I know. It's just
it normally takes so long to think about this, but it's just, yeah. I feel like that's just what it, like the vibes that they all give off. 100%. Yeah. That's just how it is. Yeah.
I agree.
So I guess now we can just move on to the Bechdel test. The movie definitely passes.
Yes.
But not right off the bat. So she talks with
yeah,
like her friend at the shop and the older lady, her bookkeeper, who's super cute, by the way. Her little apartment. I was like, I want to live in that apartment. It was so cute. Yeah. But they talk about so many things. Like they talk about men, they talk about online sex, they talk about chat rooms, they talk about their little bit about the have you had sex yet? What? No, I've never even met him. She's like, no, I mean cyber sex. I love Heather Burns. She delivers lines with that like airy like
yeah, like she's kind of dumb.
It's so funny to me. She's like, have you had sex yet? No, I mean cyber sex. And it's like, it's so
and then
funny
she was like,
hearing
don't
it
do
come
it.
out of
they lose
her
all
mouth.
Respect for you.
She's like, yeah, I tried to do it the other night. Or the old lady says like, I tried to do that once, and I just kept getting the loading signal. And then she's like, yeah, It's like, that's so funny to me. I don't know why, but that like whole conversation had me dying.
So when was that in the movie?
That's like one of the first times. Like when she leaves her apartment and she like enters, it's like right when she enters into the thing, they're like, oh, why are you so happy today? And then she's like, are you in love? And then she's like, no, I'm not in love. She's like, yes, I am. I'm in love with my boyfriend, Frank. And then I've seen this movie a lot,
right.
Sorry. And then they have that conversation about cyber sex.
There's a lot of women in the movie. It's kind of cool. There's that whole scene where they're like all gathered around her table and like just talking about like dating and stuff like that. But I noticed, I forgot about this until just now, but there's a scene where like it's the only woman of color in the whole ass movie, and it's the cashier.
Rose.
I hated that
I know.
scene. And
that scene makes me cringe.
Until just now.
That scene makes me cringe.
It was so cringe. And that's another scene where I'm like, if it wasn't Tom Hanks, it maybe would have worked. But he's so like,
yeah, because he's supposed to come off of like charming, but it's not charming. And I was like, Rose, I don't think you should be charmed by this.
Yeah.
Because she's like, she acts like, oh, charming. And then like Meg Ryan's character is like, oh, I'm so sorry. She's like,
yeah,
get out of my sight. Her face drops. I was like, didn't play off very well. Like, didn't age well.
Oh, yeah. And it goes to show how little they know about, like, working at those stores. Because I'm like, if the machine doesn't work, the machine doesn't work. It's not
I was like, that's not a her thing. It's just a machine thing.
Yeah, like, that's so stupid. Like, I don't know. It kind of didn't make sense. And it was dumb. And I was like, that's the only time you see a not white woman. And I was just like, of course. I don't know.
So
it was
sad.
Just, like, typical. Yeah. I forgot about that until just now.
No, that's one of the things I forgot, because I even wrote it down, was that that scene didn't age well. There were a couple of scenes that didn't age well. It was that one, the fact that Tom Hanks does the stalking thing, and then when they're arguing in the movie theater, when she's with Frank and she's arguing in the movie theater, and she's like, or he says something like, I could never date someone that's as political as I am. And then she like stops. And like when she's really like, this is over, and she stops and she goes, Frank, I have to tell you something. And he's like, what? And she goes, I didn't vote. And I was like,
yeah,
no,
that was so funny.
You gotta vote. But then she's like, it was Rudy Giuliani and I was like, Rudy Giuliani in the mayoral election. I was like, oh my goodness, that's definitely one you should have voted in. Could have had so many things avoided if you had voted. Maybe, I don't know what the outcome of that one would have been. But I was like, no, because at that point, like that was that was before politics. Like, I mean, politics has been like polarized, and then it gets like a little less polarized, and then it gets polarized again, like over the history of just like the world and how people are and like people. But that point in the 90s was one of those points where it was like, if you were Republican and you were a Democrat, like it was 100% more being like oh well, I just think more financially, and I just think more like whatever, like Democratic like they were like Democrats at that point weren't as like, they weren't seen as like socialists. Like they were definitely like straight moderates, like for what we would see now. And so like that dynamic isn't as like polarized in the film as it is now when you're watching it. You're like, because I think that's something they also talked about. I was like, no, you should have voted. Really didn't
vote, I'd be like,
nope. I'm out. Sorry, you gotta vote. But yeah, that was something they talked about when they were writing, or they talk about this movie, and I think it's on the commentary where she's like, yeah, like, it was just something that I was talking about with like my friends and my sister when we were writing the script. It was just like, oh, like, do you think you can date a Republican? And like the whole thing with like them not being compatible but also being perfect for each other at the same time, of like that dynamic. And they're like, well, yeah, like what if you met a guy and you like really loved him, but he was like a Republican and you were a Democrat, like kind of a thing. And so that was one of the things that I was like, that one didn't really age that well. Just because of the way, like, what we just went through as a country. No,
totally.
Oh, Lord.
I was trying to think in that scene. I was trying to think back then. I was like, wow, I can't believe back then, like, they just didn't give a fuck. But, like, yeah, definitely watching it now, I was like...
So I want to see, like, yikes. Back then was probably the Bushes and the Clintons. was
Jesus
like right before it got
Christ.
really, like it started getting really bad. And it was McCain and like all of them, which like back then, like with McCain and Bush, when they were doing that campaign, Bush started doing those like kind of like his campaign. You can watch like documentaries and stuff where basically like that the way that that campaign went was that was the first time in a really long time they like did a smear campaign against like people personally, and it wasn't just like politics and stuff. And that was the first time people were like, oh my gosh, it's like a person versus person thing instead of like Democrat versus Republican. And they started changing the way that they were like advertising polls and stuff. So it was advertised more as like a so and so versus so and like so and so's winning. And the way that the news was covering it was a lot more like race based, races and like horse race, like who's winning,
right.
Who's like ahead in the game, who's gonna win, like who's gonna the runner up, and like they started using terms more like that, whereas before it was more like general, like, oh, here's this candidate, this is where they are, which is like crazy for us to think about now because we have to like dig and search in order to find information like that. But that was the kind of the turning point to get in where we are now. I just took a class on this. I'm sorry. Last semester I had to do like a whole essay. So sorry, it's like coming out. It's just coming out. That was over. I'm like, yes, okay. But yeah, it was one of those things. And so it is totally interesting watching like movies like that now, where you're like, holy crap, that didn't age well. Or you look back and you're like, ugh. But there's some movies where you're like pleasantly surprised. Like I went back and rewatched Dirty Dancing, and I was like we have to talk about this one, because I went back and rewatched Dirty Dancing, and I was like, this movie holds up so nicely. Like
I've never seen it.
It's really
My mom
interesting.
Liked it.
Oh,
I've never seen it.
I feel like you'll like it. If you liked this one.
Okay.
No, it's not
okay. I thought it was this whole time.
Nah, I feel like if you liked this one, you would like Dirty Dancing. Especially if you look at it through the lens of like how the women make their decisions in the film, and it's very like it addresses toxic masculinity in a way that's like the way that the male character Patrick Swayze is written is very different for the time that it was like written in. It was in the 80s where it's like macho man. There's literally a song. And so he's like, he has that like physique, and he like embodies what people pictured as like a macho man, but then it's very much reversed in the way that he's written. So I guess now we're just doing recommendations now.
Oh yeah. Okay, we'll do recommendations and then you want to rate it?
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, I would recommend Dirty Dancing if you like this movie. Let's see. I think I had two others. And one of them is an older rom-com that I also think is it's 90s. And it's another one of those movies that I like a lot. Some of the things in it didn't age well like this movie, but overall it's pretty well written and cohesive, and it's really fun overall. It's really funny. Like I actually think that this movie, 10 Things I Hate About You, I actually think it's really funny. There's when I watch this movie, there's specific scenes that I wait for, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good like love that. It's so funny every time. It's funny every time. And then the other movie I was going to mention is Always Be My Maybe, because gotta love childhood friend to lover trope. Yes. But especially when they're Asian Americans from the 90s and they grow up and it's cute. And it's Ali Wong. It's like, come on.
Yeah, there were a lot of cute relationships in that one. I was just going to recommend Kissing Jessica Stein, 2001 movie, directed by Charles Herman Wormfield, but it was written by two women, Heather Jorgensen and Jennifer Westfeldt. But I just watched that one. It's only like 90 minutes. It's like this girl who like can't really get a date, and then this other girl is like sick of dating guys, and she puts an ad in the newspaper like any girls want to hook up, and then the girl who can't get a date like sees it in the newspaper and is like, calls her up, and then they date, and it's like it's pretty funny.
That's kind of
cool.
cute, actually.
Yeah, it was really funny.
That's a vibe.
Yeah, right. I was like, wow, that's how they did that back then.
Dang,
it was really cool.
Just puts an ad in the newspaper.
I know, isn't it like adorable? I was like, oh my god, that's so cute.
Who reads newspapers? Did they really read the newspaper in 2001?
Yeah, they had to. Well, in the movie, it's funny. In the movie, the girl, she plays the character Jessica. She like doesn't use email. She's like people were like, what, whatever, and she's like, I just don't, like, just call me, like, I don't send emails, da da da, like, so I guess that was a thing back then.
That's
like,
fun.
it wasn't even that integrated. Like,
interesting.
she was like, I just don't use email. I was like, okay,
I'm gonna put an ad in paper.
Yeah, like, what?
That's fun.
What the? Yeah, so I would recommend that one. It was pretty good. Oh yeah, because the writers are the two lesbians in the movie, which was like funny. I think they were pretty good. Like, they were really good at acting, so it was cool. Okay, so
did you have another one?
Huh?
Did you have another one? Oh, you said 3. Oh, I'm just
3? Dumb. No, yeah, that was the only one that I have.
It's a good one.
I'm running out of rom-com recommendations. I need to watch.
It's okay,
more,
I can dig into my bag of rom-coms because I have watched so many of them, and I have only deemed a few of them to be good.
Yeah,
that's the thing, is because mostly men write rom-coms and they're just like not that good. Like, but when women write them, they're like significantly better.
Yeah,
like
it's
different. Like factually, they're just better when a woman writes it.
Yeah, it's different.
Especially if she directs it. Like, yeah.
Like, always be my maybe.
Yeah. All right. Ratings. I've already said that this one's definitely like up there for me. I would probably give it like 8.7.
Oh, you got those like intermediate decimals in there.
I know. It's better than an 8.5. It's not quite a 9. Yeah, 8.7.
I would give this one a 7, I think. Because I think I rated the half of it a 7 as well.
I don't remember.
And I feel like, I don't remember. I think I rated a 7 because, anyway, whatever.
Spoilers.
Oh, you're right. I forgot.
You're not supposed to know that.
Dude, that one's not going to come out for like 2 months. It's okay.
It's a gift. It's a gift for you on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
A sneak peek.
We talk about the half of it. So that's something you can look forward to.
Me rating it a 7.
Okay, but 7's high for you though.
I know. And that's another thing that people aren't going to know because so far I've been rating things low. But no, they would know that because I've been rating things low. Yeah, because the reason I compare it to the half of it is because I kind of have the same like quips with it. Like, I really like the half of it, but I just felt like it was too long. And this one, I'm like, I just felt like it was too long. And then I guess just visual stuff too. But that's just rom-com stuff again. Like, they're not really like, whoa, let's frame this shot and have him here and this there and that. No, they're not really doing that. It's supposed to just distract you, like.
Yeah, it's more of like absorption type editing and shot framing. Like, there's a few things in it, I think, when you read about like the movie and stuff, but most of it's like production design stuff. It's not actually like cinematography. Yeah.
But yeah, like, I would watch it again and I would enjoy watching it again and I would recommend it to people. So
it's nice.
7.
It's a good one. Yay!
Yay!
Is this the highest rated movie we've released so far? I want to say it is. So we've released Wonder Woman and Happiest Season.
Oh yes, this will be the highest.
Yeah, this is the highest one.
But there are higher ones to come.
There are, I think. Alright, so I guess we are officially done talking about this movie now that we've rated it and went through all of our polls. So this is going to be a longer episode because we did a little bit more. We did the polls and like talked about all of that and played a little game. But definitely let us know if you liked doing the polls on Instagram. Like, I know I always just kind of think it's fun to do little story games. I'm one of those people that likes to participate in them and just like just because I don't know, I'm bored and I can. It takes like 5 seconds. Um, and it's even funnier because I don't like watch people's stories very often, but I always like when there's little games in there because it's just like it's really cute. Um, so I mean, I'm happy to keep doing things like that. I'll probably have to think a little bit about what I'm gonna do, but it takes me like 5 seconds. So feel free to tell me like, yes, give us more polls, give us more questions. Um, you can DM us on Instagram. I think you can message us on like TikTok even. Shoot us an email. We have an email. It's in our description. And yeah, or like leave it in the comments on YouTube. We would love to hear if any movies you guys think we should review. If this one made you think of a movie, or you heard us talking about something and it reminded you of a different movie, we would totally love to watch it or review it. But for purposes of the podcast, it has to be written by, directed by, or starring a woman. So yeah, those are pretty much, I mean, I feel like it's not that hard of a, it's one of those things where like you say, yes, it has to be written by, directed by, or starring a woman, but when you get down to the actual amount of movies, you kind of have to give it a little bit of thought, which is kind of the point. Yeah. And I think that it's interesting. So yeah, give us recommendations. Hope you guys had a wonderful time listening, watching, however you're consuming this content, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah.
Bye.